Look what we got there, the Apple Watch Series 10. And no, I have not even taken this thing out of the box yet. That's what we're gonna do today. If you missed it, a couple of weeks ago, Apple held their annual September event where they announced new iPhones, new AirPods, and of course, new Apple Watches. Now, unfortunately, I was not invited to that event, so I did not get to see the new Apple Watches in person. Maybe next year. Hopefully you're watching, Apple. Invite me next year. In either case, my Apple Watch Series 10 and the new Apple Watch Ultra 2 in satin black arrived today, just a few minutes ago, and I couldn't wait. I ran up here, hit record, and we're gonna take this thing out of the box in person. If you are interested in the Apple Watch Ultra 2 in satin black, I have a whole different video about that one, so go check that out. But here, we'll be talking Series 10. The color I have here is the new jet black color, which I'm pretty excited about. So we're just gonna go ahead and peel open the back here, flip it over, get the exterior shell thing off, and now we've got the internal components here. So first up is the watch band. This is the Sport Loop, and you can see here it is the black color, which we'll open up in a second. And down here, we've got the Apple Watch Series 10 in jet black as well. Let's get the watch band out of the way first and see what that looks like. There it is. So there is the black Sport Loop for the Apple Watch Series 10. This is backwards compatible with other Apple Watches as well. I do like the look of this. It's actually kind of like a dark, it's almost like a dark slate gray, like almost got a blue hue to it. That's enough about bands though. That's not why you're here. Let's get to the main part of this video and get the Series 10 out of the box. Let's get up close and personal to the microphone. What do you think of that? Pop the top and let's take a close look. That is glossy black and it just started turning on by itself. Let's attach the band so we get a look at the whole thing put together. All right, while the watch gets set up, it's going through that process. Let's take a closer look around the hardware here as compared to last generation. This is actually an Apple Watch Series 7 here, but it's the closest I got for the sake of comparison. So taking a look at these watches side by side, you know, if I was somebody just looking at this from a distance, I don't know if I'd even be able to tell the difference between the Series 7 on the right and the Series 10 on the left here. With that being said, when you are up close and personal like I am now, you can see some minor differences. For example, the footprint of this Apple Watch is a little bit bigger than the Series 7, the 8, and the 9. They've increased the size in both the small and big models by 1 millimeter. Going through the setup process here, you can see I'm greeted with the depth feature here, and that's because the new Apple Watch Series 10 has a depth gauge for diving underwater. However, unlike the Apple Watch Ultra 2 here, which can go down to 40 meters, the Series 10 here is only rated for 6 meters. So that's really only for, you know, general free diving, snorkeling, things like that, where you're not going too deep, but still a cool feature and probably pretty fun to play with here if you're in a pool or at the beach or something like that. And there we go. We're all set up on the Apple Watch Series 10 and greeted with hello there. And there is a good way to see just how big that display is now on the Apple Watch Series 10, because they have increased the size of the display on this watch to take more of the form factor of the watch. So it's got a better screen to body ratio. In fact, if we compare the watches side by side, on the left is the Series 10, on the right is the Series 7, you can see that the display on the Series 10 is significantly bigger. It does still have bezels around the perimeter of it, like there's still a black border, but it's kind of it's weird. It's like rounded off in the corners. In person, it doesn't feel like it has big bezels, especially if you look at it from an angle, it looks like the screen takes up most of the front of the watch. Another update to the Apple Watch Series 10 is the display technology they used. They used a wide angle AMOLED display on this watch, which apparently gives it better viewing angles and brightness levels at harsh angles. So if I tilt the watches at a severe angle here and try to keep them awake, that's the challenging part. If I tilt them, yeah, you can actually see that right away. On the left, the Series 10, it's a lot brighter at that sort of harsh angle, where the Series 7, when I get to a tipping point there, right about there, it starts to fade off and become a lot more dim. On the topic of the display on the Series 10, interestingly, the Series 10 does have a slightly larger display than the Ultra 2 on the left here. It is really hard to notice, and honestly, they're splitting hairs here. I would say the display on the Series 10 might be like a fraction of a millimeter bigger, but it's not like something you'll notice in practice. Jumping back to the form factor though, let's take a closer look at the hardware. So on the left, again, Series 10, on the right, Series 7. And if I flip them on their sides here, you can see that the Series 10 is noticeably thinner. It's kind of hard to see on camera there, but it is quite a bit thinner. I've got a set of calipers here, and we're gonna take a measurement of this watch because I have a feeling that 9.7 millimeter thickness that Apple claims is without the heart rate sensor. So with the heart rate sensor, it is 12 millimeters thick. That is a game a lot of these companies play. And that's the same with the older models, like on the Series 7 here. If I were to measure this, you're gonna see with the heart rate sensor, we are 13mm thick. So when it comes to comfort, this is the first time I'm putting this watch on. That's the Series 10 there. I gotta say, it's a very comfortable watch. Thanks to those rounded edges, it does have a slightly thinner feel to it, and I do like the fact that the display is bigger. It just feels more proportional to my wrist, and I do like the way it looks. Now, this is the 46mm form factor. Like I said, there is a smaller version as well if you have a smaller wrist. And I have 16.5 centimeter circumference wrists. So the Apple Watch Series 10 also comes with a new internal chipset called the S10 SIP. However, during the event when they announced this watch, they weren't very clear on what that new S10 SIP actually does. They did show off that it has more neural engines and they improved some things in the form factor and the way it's packaged to get it thinner in the S10 in particular. But they didn't say if it's going to get any new features or anything like that. All I can assume is it's for AI stuff that's coming down the road. Another new feature on the Apple Watch Series 10 display is that it can now drop down to 1 Hertz when it comes to the refresh rate of the watch. And that means when you're in always on display mode like I am now, and even when the watch is asleep, you'll get your second hand that'll tick away. In this particular watch face, it's this line going across the screen. And when the watch display does wake up, this is the new Flex watch face. That's what it looks like. Other than seeing the seconds on your watch face, what other new features does the Apple Watch Series 10 get? Well, it gets all of the new features from Apple WatchOS 11. And I have a couple of other videos all about WatchOS 11 that you should go check out if you want to learn more. But generally speaking, you get the new training tools and health tools, like the new Vitals app that lets you know if your heart rate is off, your HRV on a given day. You get the new training load functionality, which is super useful. You also get a new Tides app if you're somebody who surfs or spends a lot of time at the beach. And you also get the new sleep apnea detection developed by Apple to pick up sleep interruptions due to your breathing throughout the night. And interestingly, they actually use the accelerometer of the watch and not the microphone to pick up your snoring. From a high level though, all of those features in Apple Watch OS 11 are coming to older hardware like the Series 9 or the original Ultra 2 here. So that's kind of the same across the board. Really, the only exclusive stuff to the Apple Watch Series 10 here is the ability to play music out of the built-in speaker for podcasts or music if you're really into that, and the dive functionality of up to 20 feet or 6 meters. So that's really it. That's the Apple Watch Series 10 in a nutshell, just getting it out of the box, getting it on my wrist to see what it looks like. I will have a ton of follow-up content about this watch, and in that content, I intend to answer your questions. So if you have any questions about the Apple Watch Series 10, you want to know anything specific about it, drop in the comments down below. Let me know what you want to know, and I'll try to answer it in a follow-up video down the road. And while you're down there commenting, let me know if you're going to pick up the Apple Watch Series 10, what color you're going to get, if you're going to get the big one, the little one, the Wi-Fi, the GPS, or if you're just going to get something entirely different like a Garmin or a Suunto or a Galaxy watch. Let me know all of that in the comments down below as well. Let's open up a conversation. And after you do that, also check out the links in the description down below where you can head over and buy your very own Apple Watch Series 10, Ultra 2, or any other watch I showed in this video. Make sure you also check out all of my links to my other social media accounts like my podcast, my Strava, my Instagram, my Threads, all the things out there, and my merch store where you can buy a sweet shirt like this, it's cooler in the back, and a really nice hat like that. Do that too. Okay, friends, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!